Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night.
Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Boogeyman Radio. I'm Dave, or John the Fisherman. And over here we have Charles. I was hoping he would have changed his name.
Nope.
Tommy the Cat.
Nope. I actually, honestly, full disclosure, no idea how to change my name.
We got to get this boy some education.
I mean, it's not an obvious process unless I have to back out and go. Anyways, didn't want to do all that.
Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Charles?
Yeah.
Burnt out.
You're burnt out?
I'm burnt out.
On what?
My forehead is like getting stiff.
You're saying you quiffy?
I got sunburnt today.
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
What happens when you go fishing?
That's right. I did go fishing. You want to know something funny?
Huh.
I went to my normal spot.
Okay.
Usually catch a lot of smallmouth. I actually came this close to catching the biggest smallmouth I've caught out of there.
Really?
It was kind of comical to me. I'm gonna play this just because this was me losing the biggest smallmouth I've ever had out of there.
Damn.
Damn it.
It was such a cool, relaxed, just damn.
This one had to have been about 2.5-3 pounds. It was
wow.
It's a big one, man. But I did manage to catch a bass.
Okay.
Right, it was cute.
It's better than nothing.
Cute. Yeah.
You got something?
Yeah, it was a nice, long, relaxing day. Like I went to get my car tagged, or not to get tagged, but to renew my car temporary tags. Apparently, you can't do that in Missouri.
I got to get my bike. What, temporary tags?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
apparently, you can't do that in Missouri. I don't know what the thing is on that. But I read on the website that you could, so I was a little bit confused. I might have to ask somebody further.
I've always thought you get your tags, or you get your temporary, and then before that's up, you get your normal tags.
Yeah. I don't know what the heck's going on with that, but we'll fight. We'll figure it out.
Who knows? We'll fight. What?
We'll fight. We're gonna fight.
Sounded like. My week was good though, aside from my car acting up. But my week was good. And yeah, Cassie, so excited, can't wait for this. She knows what's up.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what's up.
Yeah, your car, dude. What you told me earlier is pretty awesome. Do you want to tell everybody, or you just want to keep it between us about your car, the work being done on your car?
I'd rather not.
He's getting NOS.
No, I'm not getting NOS.
Too fast, too free.
Too fat, too hungry. What? No, it's fine. Everything's fine. It was just I hate asking people for things. I really don't like asking for help ever. It sucks. Huh? Oh yeah. So
probably hear me better now.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine. He helped me out. I was very thankful for the little I couldn't drive my car over the weekend. It's fine, but went in there, picked it up today. We're back on track, just in time too.
On the plus side, I mean, has the weather been okay up there? You could ride your motorcycle?
A little bit, yes. But the bad thing is my motorcycle permit's expired, and I have to go get it reinstated, and then I have to get my bike inspected and get tags for my bike.
Jesus,
it's a whole process of life.
It's
like, no, it's just all at once, right? Like life's wonderful like that.
Hello, Kelly.
And Kelly.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, it's a process. I understand that. I'm going through the same thing with my car and my other car, so I get it.
But in 2 weeks, though.
2 weeks. Oh, I cannot wait. 2 weeks, our 100th
July 1st.
show. I took an extra day off. I put in for it yesterday and it got approved. So I will be off the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I think I have to double check with my boss. I think we're off for 4th of July. So
if you're off that Sunday and Monday, that means, and you're off that 4th of July.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we'll see.
4th of July is exciting for me because my family and I do a big firework thing, barbecue, horseshoes, tournament, whatever.
Fist
like
fight.
It's a lot of fun. Huh?
What?
I
said fist fights.
Yeah, fist fights. I mean, there was one close to last year.
A lot of fist fights and drinking.
But no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm ready for this year too. I'm in charge of the fireworks, so I'm so excited. You know what? I might take my camera down and film it.
There you go.
I might do that actually. Oh man, because idea perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
So last week we were discussing communication with Sasquatch, like all the ways that Sasquatch tries to either communicate with us or communicate with other Squatch. And we did dive into like the Sierra sounds, and I kind of wanted to dive a little more into the Sasquatch subject matter, mainly because number one, this is not something that you typically research or look into, and two, like my personal experiences with it while filming Into the Light 2. Josh and I, we ended up squatching and we had some amazing things happen. And I do want to get our guests' perspective on some things, as well as he's had some amazing experiences as well. And he's got some photos and stuff that he's going to share, some awesome stories. Had him out at my Paracon this last year.
Yes.
It's the first time I got to meet him, and he was awesome. I've seen him on some other podcasts. He was awesome. Well-spoken. Great personality. So let's welcome our guest, Mr. Carter Buschardt. Did I say your last name right? I never say it right.
Buschardt?
Buschardt.
Yeah. Just say Your Highness, and we got all.
Buschardt.
I'm going to call you Nature Boy.
Yeah, Nature Boy. Yeah.
All right. So fun question. Do you know where your name comes from? Buschardt?
It's a German and French.
Ah, okay.
And,
very interesting.
According to my family, the family changed the spelling to a German spelling because it's a French name. They changed it to a German spelling to avoid any trouble during the World War I's and Twos.
Okay, I was about to ask if it was like
and not because they were. We're not Jewish. I'm just Anglo, but to avoid, because they were dragging people off the street. What's your name? Oh, you're out of here. I mean, you're. So rather than mess with that, I haven't verified that, but I did see a couple of names in the 18 and 1900s with a different spelling, and then all of a sudden it changed, and so that's what. Yeah, but it's a German and French name. It's mostly if you see the Buschardt in Canada or like Louisiana, it's Bouchard.
Oh yeah.
And so this is Buschardt. So it's just kind of a way to remain upright and walking. I believe is.
That's pretty smart though, to like go.
Yeah.
Thinking about changing your name so it doesn't draw unwanted attention. That's pretty smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway.
Now, I put in the description your bio, but for those that don't like to read, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Your basically your bio.
Yeah, sure. I am still with BFRO, Bigfoot Field Research Organization. I've been researching reports for them for about 13 years. I've had 100 reports published to BFRO, not just turned in. They're actually right at 100. That's a good chunk.
Yeah.
And so I've led 4 expeditions for BFRO, 3 in Missouri, 1 in Illinois back in 2019. I've probably spoken to between 450 and 500 witnesses over this 13-year period. I talked to a new person today through somebody else. I mean, I'm getting all kinds of stuff coming in because my research now is centered on language, burial, infrastructure, the structures and things like that. That's in habituation. I'm monitoring now around 10 properties that people are giving me weekly or monthly updates as to what's going on with these Sasquatch that they're sharing their property with.
Right.
It's crazy stuff. And so that's just taken my time and my interest, because it's just fascinating to hear the stuff that they're going through, that, some of these people are just now discovering that they are sharing their property, which they had no idea that with Sasquatch. Some of them are 1 and 2 years. Some of them are up to 30 years.
I just figured our tree fell that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys know where this random boulder came from?
Yeah. Why that dead deer get 16 feet up in the tree?
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. So it's just, but that's it. And I deal with the paranormal and quantum aspects. I've had events myself that tells me they are able to do things we cannot do, and we cannot believe that they can do.
Yes.
So the government continues to BS us.
And I've been saying this, I guess since 2019 when we filmed Into the Light 2, where we came up with the theory, people think or have this belief that it's an interdimensional being or has this power or ability to cloak itself. But, something I'd always thought, and you're probably on the same boat, is, humans use 90% of our brains. There's 10% we don't use. Sasquatch, on the other hand, what are the possibilities that Sasquatch actually uses maybe 95% of its brain, and that 5% has given it the ability to change its reality around it, its surroundings?
Entirely possible. Here's something else. Just to show you how much difference a tiny number. We share 95% of our DNA with gorillas, 98% with chimps. So only 2% difference in the DNA makes them and us look the way we do. Completely different. Only 2%. You think about, how much data is in the DNA to get such a vast difference in appearance.
Yeah.
And if there's only 22 or 23 chromosomes, what is the material, the makeup of each chromosome? If one little thing is off in one chromosome, it throws everything out of whack.
Yeah. Or creates an entirely different being.
Yeah.
It's not out of whack. Yeah. It's just crazy. So when you do the math like that, you go, because I just went to the zoo not even too long ago, took our granddaughter, and you're sitting there staring at these gorillas, chimps, and they're looking at you. I mean, you're making eye contact, and except for like 5%, I could be you and you could be me. It's mind-boggling when you think about that, So very little amount, 5% makes a huge difference, because you got this big old 1,000-pound being. It's not a creature, it's a being. There are people, covered with hair and the strength of 20 elephants. I mean, you just go, that 5% is that much difference.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like it would be, but it's the same thing with the thought process and the cranial capacity and what they can do with it. I think they have skill sets that we used to have as humans, and we've simply developed it out of our need. We have cars that take us somewhere, so we're fat and lazy. We got TVs we watch. We got computers. We got everything does everything for us. We have grocery stores. We don't have to go hunt for our food. We don't do anything. So the things we used to maybe have the ability to do, vibrational frequencies, flipping dimensions, levitation, telepathy,
Yeah.
Atlantis, they talk about, the stones being lifted and just levitated over, miles and laid down where they're supposed to be, Machu Picchu, all that kind of, we can't do that stuff now. We can't duplicate those buildings now. So just imagine what we probably had at our fingertips, and we progressed it out of our DNA almost. I mean, so we can't believe that anybody could do those things that we
Right, of course.
So something you said just sparked something in my head. I want to say it was in Peru. They had what they considered a Stargate, where it's like this rock that has like a doorway carved into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be this priest that would walk into this doorway and disappear, would be like teleported somewhere, or do you, I guess if that's possible, you kind of made me think, like, if we had that ability back then, but all of our modern technology, or even the technology as we progressed in as a species, somehow we lost that along the way, the ability to do that, because quantum theory and quantum physicists have come out and said that we have the brain capacity and the ability to change our reality around us.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We just forgot how to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wonder, you just made me wonder, like, if maybe that's how they were using those doorways, like they would just change the reality of it and be a rip in space and time, and they just go through.
Yeah. No, it's entirely possible, and the guys with Pork and Beans, Brian and Michael, they've got some really incredible photos of portals supposedly opening and closing.
Really?
Yeah, a picture in the forest is it's pretty incredible stuff. And there's other photos like that. Just nobody can grasp that, like the typical, where we handle some weird stuff.
Yes.
The three of us, we're involved in some weird research. So we see and hear a lot of things. I've had things happen to me. So, but when the lay person, you go, oh crap, that can't be, that nobody can do, they can't, it's just, and the whole reason we think that way is because we're taught how to think from that time we exit the birth canal. The time you leave your mama's body until you're 18 to 22 years old, you're taught how to think and how to perceive the world. And it's nothing but indoctrination into a way that they want you to think and see the world. There's no UFOs. There's no ghosts. Wait a minute. The government did lie about UFOs. There are UFOs. Well, they've been lying to us about that. So it's just a matter of time before they quit lying for a few moments, throw us a bone. So with the Tic Tac videos and all that, well, the Tic Tac videos, they were not built on this planet. They're off planet. We don't have the skill to do that, and we don't have any equipment that can do that. So they have to come from off planet. We'll get back to you on that. So they threw us a bone, and they're going to shut up about it, And so the same thing with Sasquatch. They're going to have, we have too much DNA research at our layperson fingertips. That the cost is coming down, and the samples are going to quit disappearing like they do now. You send the sample into a college or university or DNA lab, and we lost the sample. I'm sorry, I can't find it. 50% female human and 50% unknown male hominid. That's all we could find. And,
disclosure is coming.
Yeah, and we'll get back to you. That kind of thing. So it's very frustrating to be on this side, because we've all experienced different things, and we know, well, they said that can't happen, but that just happened to me. I'm not stoned. I'm not high. I'm not drunk. My equipment's working perfect. I'm not paranoid, schizophrenic, or schizophrenic, so I'm not hallucinating things. I'm not prone to that. So what I saw happened. Now I just got to figure out a way to explain it.
Right.
And so we can't even do that because we're taught that certain things can't happen,
Yeah.
Well, you can't cloak. Well, what about a chameleon? What about an octopus? They can blend themselves into a coral reef. You wouldn't even know they're there.
Right.
So things can cloak. gypsy moths. Certain moths can blend in and look like bark on a tree. You'll never even know they're there. Copperheads can climb straight up a tree, and you'll never see them because of the bark and everything. So cloaking isn't that big a deal to me. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Well, and if you think, along the conspiracy line, government has been, testing animals and creating hybrids. Yeah. They're saying they don't, but there's some labs that are probably so hush hush even the president don't even know.
So I guarantee there's stuff the president doesn't know that's classified. Guarantee
the president's just a figurehead.
I was gonna say it's ran by corporations. Only they have the clearance.
Look,
you can make me president if you want. I'll just be the puppet and I'll just tell everybody what they want to hear and run for office.
Give you the information though.
Lie about everything and don't do anything.
Yeah. So, but it's just a fascinating. So, as I started, I wasn't going to write a book, but I had these hundreds of reports laying here. I probably got about 200 reports. I had 100 published and 100 that I wanted to, and they didn't get published for whatever reason. So I was just going, well, here's COVID. I got nothing to do, nowhere to go because we can't go anywhere. And so I started writing a book and putting, reports together and re-interviewing my witnesses. And then people started telling me, I want to tell you something you're not going to believe. After they told me their whole Sasquatch event. Now I'm going to tell you something you won't believe. Okay, so you just told me about a creature that doesn't exist that you saw, and you're going to tell me something else that I won't believe? Bring it on, baby.
Right.
And then the good stuff comes out where they saw it walk through a tree, it walked right through a wall in a bedroom, and they see an orb that evolves into a Sasquatch and it's floating through the house, and I've had that stuff happen at my house. So you just go, there's an undercurrent of stuff that people won't talk about. And it's not only that it's Sasquatch, which gives you a black eye because people will ridicule you to death and humiliate you, and you won't say anything to anybody about anything. The people closest to you are the ones that do the most damage: your spouse, your best friends, your family, your close co-workers. Well, let's see, Bob saw a Sasquatch last week. Let's have him over at the company party. We'll have some fun with him. And you ridicule the crap out of somebody, and humiliate them, and they won't say anything to anybody. Yeah. So people are starting to come out of the woodwork because people are seeing these things, and they're telling me and a few other researchers, and people are still going, that's baloney. That can't happen. Well, it does happen. I am not running into just the 400 crazy people in the entire United States that have seen Sasquatch. Right. There's people, politicians, cops, pilots, all kinds of people that won't come forward because of ridicule. Some of them, if you're in a job like a airline pilot, it used to be if you saw one, you say a word, you're done. You're grounded. You'll never fly again. So they
got that Sasquatch disease. They think Sasquatch is out there. No.
Well, if you saw a UFO as a pilot, you're dead meat. You don't say a word.
Grounded.
Sasquatch.
So we got a question already for you.
Yeah.
Kelly wants to know, are there reports of sightings in the winter months in the northern states? She's only familiar with warm weather reports.
Yeah, there are. The only problem is nobody gets out. It's too cold, especially up north. So the reason the reports are sparse, and they're the same way here in Missouri, is that in Missouri it gets to be 0, many degrees below 0, same as up north. And so there's not that many people out. So probably if there was more people out freezing their butts off, I guarantee you there'd probably be more reports.
Yeah,
who wants to be running around in the woods when it's 12 below in broad daylight looking for a creature that may or may not exist?
It'd be a good time to take a drone out.
Yeah, true. So do you think so let's say park rangers, for instance, right? Do you think if someone sees, like a park ranger sees something like that, who do you think they go to? Like to their boss, and their boss calls it in, or what do you think happens?
There was something on YouTube about that. It was actually Paulides, and he had a couple of forestry workers that were told, "You say nothing. Do not say a word." I've got a story in my book, my second book, the Enigma 2, where my witness in Canada, he was on a tree planting crew, and long story short, about a half a dozen men saw Sasquatch. There was 12 men there. The other half saw hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of footprints. They pulled up into an area to do tree planting, and a clan, a family of Sasquatch literally was just standing there, and they were gone. And you could see saliva dripping from plants. You could see all these holes dug. You could see the ground was all turned up of all sizes of hand and footprints. Big ones, 24-inch. And so, but the bottom line was they were spooked. And the foreman said,
Sounds
"You
like
say
it.
a word, you will never work in this business again." And
Wow.
if you're in British Columbia, work is hard to find in the hinterlands, way, 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 way up. And so those guys said, "You're going to sign this. You'll never work again if you say a word."
Yep.
And then they split the crews up. So they see that kind of stuff. I've talked to a couple of people here in Missouri, a conservation officer and his wife. She was a wildlife biologist.
Oh, wow.
She was down on her belly with a camera in a little wetland area, filming birds that nest on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she suddenly got this weird feeling, and she looked around, and probably about 25, 30 feet behind her was a Sasquatch just standing there looking at her, watching her. They packed up and asked to be transferred. So we ran into them quite by accident because we saw this cabin in the middle of the woods, and they were packing up and moving, these people. We went up and started kind of BSing with them. And, hey, what's going on? They let us stay at that house. That was a conservation department cabin here in Missouri, and they let us say, "No, we're out of here. You can stay here." And he wanted nothing to do with the place anymore. His wife was really like, "We're out of here."
Yeah.
So, they see things, and they have orders not to say a word. I mean, that's just the unwritten code. Just like a pilot with a UFO or Dogman or anything like that. You say nothing, because we got tourism. That tourism accounts for lots of billions of dollars. We're not going to screw this up with some stupid report about people missing and Sasquatch or UFOs or Dogman and caves and all that stuff. So they know what's going on, and if you want your job and your benefits and your pension, shut the heck up.
So you mentioned that you're kind of a habituologist, I guess. You study their habitat and basically how they live and everything like that. And one thing you brought up was, you said burials. Now, this is kind of a hot topic, I think, for myself in particular, because every show you watch, every researcher that's out there, they never come across bodies. They don't say anything about burials or anything like that. What have you come across in your research that hints towards burials?
Well, I have a really a cool story. Now, I've just recently heard, and there was a video that has suddenly disappeared. It was on YouTube about a guy that had permission to go into a forest up in Canada somewhere and cut down old dead redwoods. Had to be, no more than a certain height and all this other stuff. But, it was impeding growth. So he had worked for the forestry. So he was allowed to go in and cut down a couple of big trees that had been dead so long they were really hollow, big enough where you could get 2 or 3 humans inside of one of them. Right. So according to him, that he cut down a tree and he found a Sasquatch, skin-covered Sasquatch skeleton inside of a tree. And that just disappeared. As soon as it hit, it's gone. I couldn't find it. I know where to look for it. It was just gone. It was pulled. But with my habituation study, I mean that the people, humans, have a clan, a family,
right?
Sasquatch, or more than one, living on their property, and it is usually rural acreage, heavy woods, some farmland. But I had this is a really cool story. But I had a couple that they moved her mother and her single wide trailer onto their property. They had about 200 acres. They still do. They're still there. So they could keep track of her. She could still have her autonomy. They could take care of her, watch her, and everything. She's getting old, and she had an old fat dog that'd been around forever and ever and ever. And so there was a pack of wild dogs that go through this neighborhood. It's rural. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of acres, but everybody's got at least 30 or 40. So it's a, I wouldn't say it's a tight knit community. It's not really small. It's kind of large, but everybody kind of knows everybody. Anyway, so and she used to go out and walk her dog. One evening she was getting out to go walk her dog, and this pack of dogs ran up to the gate, and they were just growling and snarling. They were like going berserk. They were going to kill this dog. They want to kill this old dog because they could just tear it to shreds. And out of the forest comes this blood-curdling scream like you never heard. Just hit you in the chest. And they screamed, and then they talked with the samurai chatter. And the dogs just froze for a second, then they turned and bolted and ran. They were never seen ever again in that neighborhood. They never ever came back. They were going to kill that dog. And so this Sasquatch was watching over these people. Well, fast forward a year later, the dog dies, and they bury the dog, and they go buy 18 carnations, little potted carnations, and they plant them evenly all around the body, and they buried it and put nice even little spacing all around the body, and said their prayers, and then goodbye. Next morning they come out, all the flowers have been pulled out of the ground gently, the root ball still intact, nothing had been torn up or eaten or nothing. They pulled it out and laid it right next to the hole, all the way around the grave. And they called me up and said, hey, and I told them a story about this, and they just forgot. But I said, well, the Sasquatch don't mark their graves, and they liked your mom, and they liked the dog, and so they're protecting that dog. They do not want humans or other animals to dig up your dog. Crazy. I mean, and it made sense, Yeah. So, but I believe, just like an alpha predator, lions, tigers, bears, wolves, even elephants. Yeah. If they're injured, they go somewhere to get better, and they're hiding because they're injured. They cannot fight and fend for themselves. If they die, they're hidden. So you're never going to see them. They've already buried themselves, technically. So I think that's why we don't find a lot. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the show called The Body Farm, where they put, cadavers, other animals out, and they see how long it takes a body to completely.
That's a farm down in Texas, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was one in Tennessee, the University of Tennessee, or somebody like that runs one as well. But anyway, so they put a body out, cattle, cadavers, humans, whatever, and they, within a week or 10 days, just predation and biology, that body's gone. The bot flies come in and lay eggs, and so they start eating up all the fur, the bone, and the marrow, and there's nothing left in 10 days. The heads and bones and everything are just scattered. Something will run by and grab a tail or a leg and run off, and so the body just dissipates. So you just won't find them, especially the alpha predators. So, and here's my other theory: they may go to another place to die. If they have the mean, they may go to another portal, another dimension. Well, it's time for you to die, Sasquatch Bob. So
you cannot be here.
You cannot be here. You must go here. So and there's just enough stories where people are finding bodies. Somebody shot one. Somebody's grandpa or uncle shot one decades ago, and they buried it on a farm in Mississippi. They go back and dig it up, and there it is. And then they take it and put it somewhere else, and then they go back and it's gone. So the Sasquatch probably found that one. So I think they don't want to be found. And so
Right.
that would be that's why I'm so interested in that, because the stories like this, and I've had other stories. That face picture I sent you's got a cool story about that. Well,
We'll jump into that.
Huh?
We'll jump into that story here in just a second. We had another question come up for you. Are there encounter stories of an aggressive, mean Sasquatch where the people thought it was going to hurt them?
Yeah, there are. There's a lot of stories like that, but they don't hurt humans. They will threaten you and scare you to death, but that only comes after you've possibly, gone into their territory. You've gone past structures where they say, we don't want people back here. If you're trying to harm, you're taking a gun and trying to shoot them or their family or their kids, they'll be all over you. But I would be too. But they're not overtly aggressive. They do not want to do us harm. They're trying to show us the way of the world, what we're doing wrong with the planet, how we're treating each other in the planet. They don't like people that thrill hunt. You just go, shoot a deer to cut the head off and put it on a wall. You leave the body out to rot.
Right.
They want every animal that's taken to be used for the purpose it was taken, not trophy hunting. So they're trying to teach us things. And so the last thing they want to do is tear us up and hurt us. But if you shot a gun at one, you're trying to hurt one, and you're going a little too close, and you're getting warning signs you shouldn't be over here, and you're ignoring it, they'll let you know.
Oh yeah.
There's not any verifiable reports that I have seen and heard other than tales of Sasquatch ripping somebody to shreds.
Yeah.
The assault at 8th Canyon, where 5 or 10 squats were throwing rocks and logs at a house because they were shooting at the Sasquatch who were trying to get the deer, and they were trying to get into the house, and these guys were shooting through the walls of their cabin all night long, through the roof of the house, trying to chase off these Sasquatches. But those are like few and far between. That's not their nature, because they can rip us to shreds anytime. If they want to stop and eat one of us, all they got to do is come down to Missouri or wherever anybody else lives and walk through the woods and grab a stupid camper and pop their head off and have them for dinner. I mean, that's the easy part.
Well, it's kind of funny. A friend of mine last night was telling me a story. He swears that this is a Sasquatch encounter, and he was down in, I think, Mobile, Alabama, in the forest somewhere. Not for sure exactly, but he was telling me that him and a bunch of friends were just hanging out in the woods, and then one night they thought they heard some like rustling or some movement off in the forest. They went to go check it out, and all of a sudden they hear a very loud like thud. And it was really close to them, and they went and checked it out, and it was like a huge boulder. Like, they believed that it was this boulder, and they were like, there's no way that it was one of them because of how big this boulder was. So they just thought that and it was towards the camp. So they thought that something was throwing this boulder at them or near them. And I was like, well, it sounds like you got a little too close.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
And they're just kind of letting you know who's boss.
Exactly.
But I don't think they're out to harm us, and if I'm the first person who's been, acknowledged to have been killed by a Sasquatch, I'll take that honor.
I guarantee there've been more bear killings than
Just
Sasquatch.
spell my name right.
Yeah, there you go.
Now whenever Josh and I on Into the Light too, we had some stones thrown at us, and particularly in this one area where we were told it was like a training area where they train their young how to manipulate the forest and things like that. And I sent Josh in there by himself in the middle of the night with a camera. But I think you'd brought up the hunting thing. I kind of think like maybe they thought the cameras were a gun or something or some kind of destructive tool, and they were just kind of chasing us out with that.
Or what if they know what it is and they just didn't want to be recorded?
Yeah, they know what cameras are. They know what they are. There's too many people that and here's the funny part is that they avoid trail cameras at all costs. And you'll see people that have cameras out. I just got a story today from another lady. You see deer, blank, 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 deer. Where do those 3 pictures go?
Yeah.
Well, because I think they manipulate the cameras, manipulate the electronics, and can shut the camera off. This lady who contacted me today, she had batteries taken out of her camera and thrown on the ground.
Huh.
A private property.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that?
Right.
It was on their property, didn't want pictures taken. And she also had her camera turned around, pointing away from the area that it was trained on. It's an area that they do gifting and see a lot of things. And it's kind of a game trail intersection. And so that camera was turned.
Mm.
So, so they know what cameras are,
Yes.
But that being said, the Sasquatch on my cover of my latest book didn't get the memo about stay away from cameras, because it just walked right in front of that camera. I think it materialized, and it was on top of the camera because it actually bumped the camera.
That would be this book.
Yeah. Now,
and we want to tell a story about this.
Yeah.
These images. Okay.
Yeah. So I got contacted by the owner of this property. Said, we got Sasquatch on our property, and like you to come check it out. And he had a bad run-in with another researcher who showed up with a orange truck completely wrapped with Bigfoot researcher as seen on A&E and all these shows he's been on, and he was just advertising. I mean, people live in a small town, they don't want that kind of stuff. They don't want that kind of a track, they don't want that notoriety. Just get away.
Yeah.
So they call me, just pick a number, call, and they got me, and I'm very low key. I'm not after fame and fortune. So anyway, this photo, can you pull it up?
I'll pull up the hunter.
Either way.
All right.
Okay. Look at this is how it starts. So look at the timestamp. It's 3:12 and 36 seconds in the afternoon.
That's 3:12 and 36 seconds.
So it's 3:12, 3:12, almost 3:13. So anyway, here he is. He's walking through. What they do, this guy here is the town preacher. He's best friends with the landowner. So they have about 30 some odd cameras. I've been out to this property twice. So they have about 30 some odd cameras out there, all triangulated, looking at each other so they don't miss anything. So about every couple of months, they go out and they change the batteries, check the SD cards if they're full. They swap them out and go, delete the pictures or take a look at them and swap them back out and do their thing. But he was out there doing his thing. So take a look at this photo. You see on the where his feet are, you see the shade, that triangular little piece of shading there, where it's kind of out of the sunlight. You see in the background, you see the horizontal tree that's fallen over. In the back right, you'll see this dark shape, which is not a Sasquatch. It is a above ground blind. The thing is about 3.5, 4 feet off the ground. It's a very nice blind, but it's not that high up in the tree. It's just mounted on the ground. So he's walking around checking. So now that's 3:15 and 36 seconds. I'll show that next photo. Well, looky here. It's 3:12 and 40 seconds. This Sasquatch come up right behind him, same area. It bumped the camera. If you look at the shading, it's not as dark on the bottom of the photo. It's so close to the camera that it's out of focus.
I was going to say, you can see on the trees in the background towards the top of them, it's like a warping effect.
Yeah, because it bumped the camera. It was moving. And so we figured out that is what happened. He did not see it. He did not hear it. He did not sense it. But it was, count this out, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 seconds behind him. Same day, same location.
And what's crazy about that is all the leaves on the ground, something this big should have been heard, but wasn't.
Yeah. And that's why we surmised and theorized that it simply materialized, and it they don't pass out GPSs for the Sasquatch, so it landed right on top of the freaking camera.
Something else I want to point out too is like this guy's hands are not painted. He doesn't have like the weird fingertips.
Yeah.
Where this is like a darker color, has like these pointed fingertips, these flat fingers.
Yeah, it's just bizarre, and everybody was screaming, "Fake, fake, fake! You gotta be kidding me! How dare you publish this? You know better than that. You're supposed to be, an investigator, blah blah." Who are you people? They're just the trolls and haters.
Yes.
And it is, but that's how it's going to be. If we get a really good picture like the Patty or the Freeman films, well, that's too good. It's got to be fake. And if it's crappy, well, of course it's crappy because they don't exist. You can't win. You cannot win. And the reason that some of the photos are blurry, well, people are trying to take a picture, they're scared out of their freaking minds, and they're plus they can change their vibrational frequency. All you gotta do is just tweak your vibration just a little bit, and you're blurry.
And
it's not that far-fetched to think how they do that.
I was going to say, if they can alter the reality to, go to another dimension or go into a portal, if they're messing with reality while you're taking a picture, that could come out blurry.
Yeah. So the thing with this photo is though, when I got it, he told me I didn't have the photo of him. He sent me the photo of the hand, and we were out there filming a pilot for a show that never got off the ground for I think it was for Hulu, and they were going to do another report of mine in this same state, but my witnesses for this report decided they want to make demands. Well, we want some money, we want this and that. And I'm going, really? This is altruistic. You're trying to help us come to a solution or an answer, and you want fame and fortune all of a sudden? Well, just screw you, So the producer, I called him. I said, hey, just so you know, and this is just happens to be, I got this other report you've never seen, you've never heard of it, and I've got a photo. I'm going to send you this photo. You've got all the production skills. You tell me if this is legit or not. You got programs you can run it through. Mm-hmm. They ran it through. They called me back within an hour, said, we're on the way. They said, that's passing mustard for us. We're coming. And so when we got there to the property, he said, Carter, I think I've got a photo of me walking, and it's only about 10 or 12 seconds difference between the hand photo and me. So let me see if I can find it. Well, he finds it, and it's not 10 or 12 seconds. It's 4 seconds. And so I'm going, damn, preacher, that's pretty good stuff. That I did ask him, like we were talking earlier. So yeah. I have to ask anybody that sends me stuff, of course you can lie to my face if you want. I said, is this legit? This isn't something that's been put together or someone sent it to you. You don't know the provenance, and this is legit because this is off their cameras. Carter, it's as real as you and me talking. Don't ever ask me that again. Because he's the town preacher. He's a man of God, So,
you have to ask.
Of course, you want to believe them. Of course, there's the people like Joel Osteen, who's bilking, millions of Christians out of billions of dollars, and, 27 cars and a 20,000 square foot mansion. And, he's preaching the word of God. I'm not sure God was right on board with that type of mentality, but anyway, but that's the story. And they've had other events happen out there, things that they saw materialize and dematerialize right in front of them, just bizarre stuff, structures. I had I put a gifting area down where they have all their cameras, and something didn't like it, and it came and destroyed one of the cameras and threw the camera in the middle of my little gifting pile. So and that's in the book because but something was not happy with us being down there,
That's an interesting phenomenon of out of the whole thing too that I wasn't aware of until we were filming, was the whole gifting process. Like, that's pretty interesting, and it shows like an intelligence kind of thing. And for me, I'm going to tell you what I gifted. Jack Link's beef jerky.
They love it.
Of course you did.
That's what I gifted them. That, peanut butter, and 2 glow sticks.
Yep.
And what was funny was like the day we left, like there was a section where there were some rock stackings, and we left, went back, and there was a second one that was built, and so we left the glow stick there. And the next day we left, and as soon as I get home, the landowners, they send me a message. They're like, "You're not going to believe this. We went out to dinner, got home. There's a teepee built in the middle of the road with that glow stick hanging down in the middle of it." And I was like, "That is awesome."
You can't beat that. You
Like,
can't beat that. You
yeah,
know?
and what was really peculiar to me about the whole thing was like they'd been getting gifts. They have a crystal mine. They own a crystal mine. The land people go out there, dig for crystals and all that, but they get gifted crystals, and sometimes they find them in their house.
Yeah.
And not outside.
Yeah.
So somehow they're getting in there.
That Arkansas?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. No, I've got some pretty good stories down there. I just did a conference down there in Eureka Springs like last weekend or weekend before.
Nice.
It was nice. It was good. I had a speaking engagement there, and I'm doing the big Metacon here in Kansas City in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, middle of July. But the gifting is just fascinating. I've got another lady in a Western state. I don't identify my people by name or location because neither of those is important. It's what happened, because I don't want to protect their privacy, because somebody can take a very little bit of information and figure out where somebody lives if they're really good at it and want to. Anyway, so I talked to her, and she heard me on another podcast, and she made the most recent book. She's got some gifting stuff that just blows your mind. It's just crazy stuff. Go to the Dollar Tree and you buy all your cheap, necklaces and small children's toys, mirrors and stuff. I suggested doing mirrors. So she's got this crazy thing going on with the mirrors, is that she bought like about a half a dozen of them. She hung them on 3 or 4 trees, and they took them down and they put them on the ground. The mirror part facing down. She went back the next morning, put them back up. And the next day they were turned around. They were still hanging on the tree, but they were facing the tree. They didn't like the mirrors showing their reflection. And I thought they would find that fascinating. But if you go to, but we have a sense of self that is ego driven. I don't think they have that sense of self
or a vanity, or
want to see yourself as others see you. You're not just looking at yourself in a puddle of water or a creek or a river. You get that just distorted. But I don't think they care. That's not. We're very shallow. Is my face good? Is my makeup done? Did I miss a spot when I'm shaving? We're so worried about our appearance. And they're not. But if you go back to the Native Americans, when they,
I was just gonna say something about this.
The Native Americans and the white man, when we were doing what we did to them, and we were taking their pictures, they'd never seen a camera.
Yep.
And so they look at the camera, they look at the picture, and they're standing here, they're looking at the photo. I'm here. I'm not here. How did you get me here? You stole my soul. You stole my soul. That's the only way for me to be on this piece of paper. How did I get here?
Right.
They want nothing to do with cameras. Well, Sasquatch and the Native Americans had symbiotic relationship thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yes.
They are communicating, on a daily or weekly basis, whether they may be trading food and furs and, women.
I believe it was California, where they had like some of the Native Americans told tales of being neighbors with a tribe of hairy men.
Yeah, hairy vomit. Yeah, red hair. And so if that mentality, and and lo and behold, the Sasquatch are so vastly superior to us mentally that the Native Americans probably had no idea that they. I understand. We don't like those here. But I thought it would be something unique that they would like it, because I have another property where they hung 5 mirrors. One mirror was torn down. The other 4 are still there a year later. And only one was taken, but I think somebody was curious and took it. But so she has this ongoing thing where it's a constant, it's become like a battle. And so then they'll take one of these mirrors and that she's put back up there, and they'll turn it around, and then they'll take a vine and wrap it around this tree a dozen times and just pin that mirror to the tree so you can't move it and get it off. It's just hilarious that they're going back and forth. Necklaces, she's got these necklaces that she buys, and she hangs them on a tree stump. They take them off the tree stump and they go hang them on a tree, or they hang them on a hook that's way up this tree where her husband had nailed some nails so she could hang stuff. It's this incredible back and forth, and
right.
It is. I said, you are communicating with a potentially primordial creature, being, people. How does that make you feel? And she hadn't even thought about it, but they're also to the point where there's a relationship going where they're seeing orbs that metaphysically or however they will transport themselves into a Sasquatch being, which you'll see just kind of floating there. They want you to see them, and then they'll morph back into an orb and whoop, go.
So that falls in line with, again, my second film. We did a exploration of the spook light phenomenon, these anomalous balls of light that are in certain areas, and we started throughout the filming, started noticing that a lot of these areas where there's these light phenomena are happening in areas with high UFO sightings and high Sasquatch sightings. And I'm going to play a clip real quick. It's something out of my film that I was going to play it last week for Cassie. So I'm going to play this for Cassie. We did this jokingly in the first film because we didn't know better at the time. But looking back at it during the shooting of the second film, it started making sense. This is where it started clicking. So I'm going to play this real quick.
All right. We know what you must be thinking. We set out to search for what's been called spook lights. It's one thing to discover moving rocks and another to tie in the UFO alien theory. But adding Bigfoot into the mix is just ridiculous. And we agree. Or did. When looking back at our exploration of the spook light phenomena, we noticed a common theme. During the filming of the first Into the Light at the Brown Mountains, we heard yells and screams coming from the woods. Jokingly, we attributed this as being a Sasquatch, as Dave decided to mess with Rick.
There was again. That was more like a yell, like, fucking Bigfoot.
You heard that.
Bigfoot.
I don't know what the fuck it is, but there was something down in there.
Bigfoot makes those kind of yells.
We all fucking heard that. I hope to God some camera audio picked that shit up, but I don't know with that plane going overhead,
that was
dude.
too low, though. Like for the audio.
I barely heard it with mine.
Yeah. Hello? Should I try Bigfoot calling?
Just fucking go for it.
Here.
Yeah.
Steady. Alright, don't judge me. I've never done this before.
Put this on auto. There it goes.
Ready? Sasquatch!
I thought you were being fucking serious.
So, rest in peace, Rick, by the way. No, we were hearing like these loud yells. Like it's a ravine, like the Brown Mountains in North Carolina. It's like all hundreds of miles of woodland.
Yeah.
But we were hearing these loud yells and stuff coming from the ravine, probably about a mile down. And I was serious when I was saying, like, that sounds like Bigfoot calls and stuff that I've heard on TV and everything. And I knew Rick was starting to get really antsy about it, so I decided to screw with him. But like when we started filming the second one, that's when we started tying in all this stuff, and it all really started clicking for us. And but yeah, that's what, like, the film I told you off camera, like, we were trying to raise money for an Into the Light 3, and that's something that we wanted to explore, was going back to the place where we found the actual Bigfoot encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to explore it further, and exploring the what you started talking about, the lights and stuff. The theory was that these lights are a product of either a portal opening or a rip in time and space, because it's a plasma that is being left behind, something that you would find in like a candle flame. And the only way that it's actually been recreated was in a laboratory setting. And they've said that it's not something that just happens in nature. So, like, if you're familiar with the CERN Hadron Collider, they were opening up tiny black holes. And in their article that was written up about it, was they mentioned in passing that there were elements of plasma being left behind when they opened up these black holes. So tying all that together, that's whenever all this, the Bigfoot, the aliens, the spook lights, and everything just really started coming together. And that's something that I'm glad you started saying, was like, you know, these Bigfoot would use these lights as a traveling mechanism.
Yeah, and see, here's something else. You know, orbs are they are an accepted form of life in ghost hunting. So why are they not accepted with
to a degree
Sasquatch? You know what I mean? Because because most of my habituation people see orbs, you know, and they, they'll my wife saw one when I made contact with a clan in Illinois, 325 miles away. I was there having my event, and she was getting ready for bed here about 9:30, and nearly the same time, as best as we can calculate, when I was having my event down there, she's getting ready for bed, and she sees a blue orb zipping through our bedroom.
Huh.
She not only sees it, like physically sees it, but she also sees the reflection in the mirror on our dresser. So she's seeing it in real time, and she's seeing the reflection. So it's a real thing. And it's not car headlights, because the way our house sits, that's not a possibility. And so, and it flew into the bathroom and disappeared. And this was the time where I was having a contact with a clan, which I am still in touch with, with me 4 years later, 3.5 years.
Really cool. That's really cool.
It was mind-boggling. So this book,
okay,
that log has 6 rocks on it. You see the pointed rock?
Yeah.
The 4 behind it? That's me and the 4 expedition goers. At the other end of the rock, right there, is my partner Harold, who was there, but he wasn't there because he, when I took this group down into this ravine, he had had a couple of strokes. He's an older guy. He's had a couple of strokes, and he's had cancer. So it's very, very difficult for him to walk down jagged, terrain, especially at night. So he stayed in his truck the first night. The second night, he stayed at camp. When I left a camera, so, I'm going to leave a camera. We had a lot of activity, but they would not communicate with us. But we got some great footprints. We had, a lot of, grunting and snorting, and but hear them falling and watching us, and they're throwing little sticks and rocks at us, but no overt communication. And one of the women was, kind of freaked out. So we decided to go back. But so here's what happened. We had great activity. So that was in 2019. 2020, COVID hit, and I started my books. I said, I'd already written the first one, and I was just still toying with what I was going to do. So I met Harold back there in October, exactly a year to the day of when we had all this activity. And we wanted just to go back and see if the vibe of this place, because it was the Trail of Tears. It's a lot of misery, a lot of bad. When I was scouting the area, I'd go to the mom and pop cafes. Hey, I'm looking to do a Sasquatch expedition here. Where's a good place to go? Well, I don't know where to go, but I'll tell you where you don't want to go. You don't want to go over here to the Trail of Tears, because there's some weird stuff going on there after dark. Nobody with any sense goes anywhere near there after dark.
Perfect.
Well, that's where I'm going. You just picked my spot for me there, dude.
People don't understand sometimes.
Yeah, so it just falls in your lap. So anyhow, I met Harold back, and I drove here to Kansas City, from here, Kansas City to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Murfreesboro, Illinois. And I met him. We camped. We drove back to the place and decided it still felt creepy and weird. You could just get this vibe that there was something going on. There's a lot more to the story, which I won't go into now, but trust me, there was a lot of things going on in turmoil there, negativity with the Trail of Tears and the Death March, and Sasquatch sighting. So anyway, we went back, and I said, you know what? Actually, before I got this trail camera with the preacher and the Sasquatch, and I said, we're never going to get a photo, but we're not going to get one for sure if we don't try. So I left a trail camera. I said, on the way back to Kansas City the next morning, I'll just grab my camera on the way. So I left the camera there and put it by that log. And so I went back the next morning on the way back, and it was about 8:30 in the morning. And I went back to get my camera, and I'm looking, and those rocks just appeared on the trunk. They weren't there yesterday. I just want to put my camera. They weren't there. Yes, a human could have come by, but forget it. It's COVID. There was nobody out doing anything.
Right.
So we left the day before. We left about 2:00 in the afternoon. So it gets dark around 5. So you had about a 3-hour window where humans could have come by. And, the people that are, the tree huggers and the bushmen and the crafters and stuff like that, sometimes they'll stack rocks and make homage to Mother Earth. But that was too specific. 5 rocks, me and my 4 expedition goers, and Harold at the other end, who was there, but he wasn't there. And so I got there, and I'm looking at this. I got my camera. I'm looking at this. I'm going, well, that wasn't there yesterday. Where'd this? I started looking at it, and I'm going, oh my God, that's me. That's the group. That's us. There's 6 people. There's 6 rocks. They're communicating. They're saying, hey, we saw you. We're with you. And I get emotional when I tell this story, because it's just such an aha moment,
Right.
Moist and teary, because it's like it's a shoulder tap. They're telling me
acknowledgement.
And so that's when I called my wife up about 8:30 in the morning. She hadn't quite left for work. I tell her what's going on. And so, you won't believe us. I'm telling her about these rocks and everything. She's going, but that's awesome. That's awesome. What time did that happen? I said, well, best I can tell, it was sometime after about 5:30, 6 o'clock last night, because we were gone and it was dark and it's cold, it's COVID, nobody's out here. So, I mean, and this is nobody goes there from this town because of the fear of that area. And so she goes, and then she told me the orb story. That happened within a few hours of them probably putting the rock there. And I took fingerprints. I went and dusted the rocks for fingerprints. I carry a DNA kit, fingerprint kit in my car. At all times, I take blood, stool, fingerprints, whatever. I got all that stuff with me. always. And so I went and dusted the rocks for prints, no prints. So I went and put them back. And so I went back the next year. And the next year, the 5 rocks were gone. The 1 rock that represented Harold was back where the 5 rocks were, because Harold by then had gotten enough strength to hike all the way down there. He hiked with 2 sticks. He's a little shorter, roly-poly kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he walked down there, and they knew we were coming, and they knew he was making it because that rock was waiting for him.
Was this
the same rock that I dusted for prints the year before?
Was this up north or was this down south? This
was in South Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in Trail of Tears, Illinois, Murfreesboro. That's where this happened. That's the expedition.
So I've got so much to pick your brain about.
Oh yeah, pick away.
Because again, in my film, we didn't. I don't think we got pictures. I think we did get pictures of it. There was a log that was down, that had several rocks lined up on it. We knocked all the rocks off to see what would happen. Come back the next morning, there's 1 rock sitting on the log. We left the other rocks there, like we left them next to the log. We just took them off. But the next morning, there was just another rock there. And that was the first night we were there. We were like, well, maybe the guy's screwing with us, And another odd thing was there was this tree that's growing straight up and down, but a part of it comes out and branches like a teacup handle, right? And in that hole, that little circle, there's a small rock that was placed up there. And Josh takes that rock out, sets it at the base of the tree. The next night, or that night, we go back out there, and there's a huge boulder wedged in that hole, and just below it, a footprint. And the way we were thinking about it was like, well, the guy that was there, he was saying, well, he's probably like, if you think that's a rock, I'll show you a rock, and you're not gonna be able to get that out of there, and just wedged it right in there. So that was, when you were talking about the log and the rocks and everything, that just popped in my head. And I'm like, man, we didn't even know what that was about. Like a lot of these signs, I've only explored maybe once or twice. Some of the signs I've seen quite a bit of signs, but I don't know anything about them. So like hearing it from you, like your experience with these signs kind of helps people like me that may have had that experience or seen those things.
It's a shoulder tap. They're looking,
grab a little realization, like, hey, maybe this is acknowledgement here.
Yeah. Well, that buddy Harold I was telling you about, he sent me a photo. I've got it. I was going to put it in a book, and I didn't, because he's going to put it in one of his books that he's trying to write. But it is a picture of a tree that's about 13 foot tall. Now, the top of the tree rotted off, or lightning strike or something, but it's full tree, but the top is just missing off. It's gone. On top of that tree is a 325-pound boulder. It's 13 feet in the air.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the tree, which was cut off, were the 3 guys that found it. And I didn't, I said, I won't post their photos. I'll cut it off. So I cut it off. But you find anybody or human that wants to hoax somebody is going to hoist a pound boulder. I mean, it was probably 4 feet by 4 feet in big, thick chunk of lime. I mean, it was, a big rock. Ain't no way it's going to fall up, defy gravity. Sasquatch put it up there as a territorial marker. A lot of times they'll pull trees up that are that size and turn them upside down and ram the top of the tree into the ground. They'll break the tree in half and jam it into the ground with a root ball up in the air, and that's like a serious territorial marker. Don't come anywhere near this. But your rock story, it matches the one I got. So they do things like that. Now, if you're just walking through the woods and you see it, you go, well, that's weird. I wonder how that got there. And if you're not really curious, you just go, oh, well, and you keep hiking. And
Well, even the tree thing that you just talked about, there's something like that where there's a bluff that's got to be about 25 to 30 feet up, and then at the top of the bluff, there's a tree line. But in the tree line, there's like this 15-foot section of a tree that's big around, like bigger than I am wide, probably twice as wide as me. 15-foot section just up there at the top of the trees, just laying across them. There's no way that thing could just, like, a tree would fall over and just be like, oh, I'm up here now.
Yeah.
Like, that had to have been placed. It's insane. Yeah.
Speak of the devil.
I mean, there's so much to my film, like, is like adding up and getting validation right
and
here,
that's
guys.
me looking at that. About 50 yards to my left is a Civil War era cemetery. This is here in Missouri. And that tree is burnt on one end. That is 11 feet in the air. And it is about, I can't remember if it's 11 to 15 feet long. It's resting on two little branches that are probably, that big around. Just enough to have that up there. It didn't fall that way. It's burned. It was on the ground. It was put up there as an homage to the cemetery that some people still go because it's 1800s. But there's enough people that still go there and put flowers and stuff because they've got, their great grandparents or what have you. They're all still there, and there's some head markers there. So people still go there. But I think the Sasquatch, which they are known to watch burial services in rural communities, watch from the forest.
So
our what's the word? Our attraction to death, or our worshiping and burying and ceremonializing everything, that's probably very strange to them because they don't mark their graves. Why would you do that? Someone will dig you up and make millions of dollars by selling your body. But we want to be left alone. When we go earth to earth, we don't come back. We don't want to be dug up and trivialized and made fun of or whatever. So it's just it's a weird thing. When I found that, I was just like mesmerized. I'm going, that is somebody paying homage to humans. We understand what you do. We may not do it for the same reasons you do it. We don't want someone to know where our grave is. We want to go visit grandma, so your children and their children's children can go meet the relatives they'll never meet. But we don't do that. Our lives are separate, and we're not here. We're here to help humans and the planet be doing the right things. We don't want our bodies dug up because you put great value on that. We don't want to be disturbed that way. I think that's another reason, that it's going to be hard pressed to find a body. I guarantee you the government has bodies. They know exactly what they are, where they come from.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we don't know anything, because they're not just a dumb ape. Otherwise, what would be the big deal if we discover an ape? It's a relative of, it's a relic hominid.
And if it was an ape, we would have found it by now.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So there's something they don't want us to know, because and we discover new species, new fish, new leaves, new plants, new elements for the periodic tables. We discover new things all the time. It makes the newspapers all the time. Why not this dumb ape? Well, they don't exist because science says so. Well, where does science get their grants from? The government and colleges. And who controls all the money? The government. So you want to keep those checks coming in? You say what we want you to say.
So you sent me some more pictures earlier. Let's go into that situation, that story. I'm kind of curious about these. Do you want me to pull the first one up?
Yeah, let's pull that face up.
All right.
I just prefer that you don't share them on your own site electronically because they're in the book. But okay, this photo here, this is a face print of a juvenile Sasquatch. It has pressed its face to the inside of a greenhouse. The
like the hands coming
water,
up like this.
yeah,
That's what it looks like.
It's pushing its face up against the plastic to see if there's anybody coming. That picture was taken from the outside looking in. That face was done on the inside. It's that real heavy duty plastic you can buy, painter's plastic. You know, they have a big growing operation there, and they do a lot of farmers markets. So they grow a lot of produce. A lot of their produce was disappearing out of this greenhouse, and they knew they had Sasquatch on the property, but they didn't put the two together. But the Sasquatch are on their property. They watch them, they hear them. There's structures, there's screams and yells, there's rock clacking, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So and this is the door. Keep this door photo up. This is funny. So my guy was like really ticked off that somebody was taking or eating their food that they're growing. So the condensation on the inside of these greenhouses is from propane heaters they run during the winter to keep the food from freezing. So that's why there's all that condensation. So one night he says, you know, we got to do something about this. We got to figure out who's taking our food. So they put a motion light up. And so one night the light goes off and he hears all this ruckus. He wakes up. It's about 11:30 at night. He takes his phone out there. He can't find his flashlight. So he's taking his phone with the flashlight on it, you know. As soon as he comes out of his house, he hears this blood-curdling scream, Sasquatch yelling back over on one side of the woods. And so he's going, okay, well, that's weird. Okay. He's getting closer and closer to the greenhouse. He hears another blood-curdling set of screams and yells coming from the opposite area in the woods. And so he's going, well, something's up. I'm not sure what's going on, but they're freaking out. The Sasquatch are just yelling and screaming like crazy. When he gets up to the door you're looking at, he hears a scream. He hears a scream from the inside of the greenhouse. The Sasquatch is caught in there, and he's caught red-handed. And so this Sasquatch, when he opens the door and walks in, this Sasquatch juvenile runs right by him. It brushes up against him.
Oh, wow.
He could have kissed him. He touched this Sasquatch. It ran right by him. It's about 6.5 foot tall. This is the door that they both were standing in, and it ran by him. It was screaming its head off because it was freaked out. It was caught inside the greenhouse, and it was freaking out. And the parents and the rest of this family were screaming and yelling, trying to get the heck out of there, get out. Oh, too late now, you're screwed. You know, and so you see the handprint. I'll show that next photo. Okay, that is also my witness. It's his hand up against the outside of the greenhouse. That's the handprint from the inside because they're putting their hands up like that. That is 11 and a half inches from the base of the palm to the tip of the middle finger of the print. My hand, I've got another handprint here on my wall in the office, and it is about 12 and a half inches. And my hand from the base of the palm to the tip of my middle finger is only like 8 inches.
Right.
So that's a big boy.
Yeah.
And
especially if it's a juvenile.
Yeah. Well, it's a juvenile. Put that face picture back up. Now, if you look real close, and you've got it, you can look at it on your computers later. You can see the hair.
Yeah.
The socket, the eye socket. You see the nose. You see the lips. You see the under the lip hair. You see the hair on the chin. It's a picture of a Sasquatch, but it's not a photo. It's a facial imprint. Is that crazy? I mean, just look at that. You're not going to see anything else like that. And that ain't fake, no way. And I got crap for this photo. Well, that's because it's too good, and it is what it is. And I know these people. I've been dealing with their family for probably 15 years or more. Different sets of the family. I've got an uncle of theirs who's a preacher, also a preacher. He's a substitute preacher. He did that. He's retired now, but he would substitute preach at churches, little small churches, until they got somebody else, and then he'd move to another church. So he has had several Class A reports published by BFRO. I know him very well, Tommy. He's a real nice guy. They're all deeply, deeply religious, good salt of the earth people. They don't do any recreational hunting. They hunt to feed their families. That's all they do. Mm-hmm. They go out almost any time, and I've been with them 3 or 4 times where they have activity. They're magnets for the Sasquatch. They're just attracted to them, and so this photos that you're showing here, these are relatives. He's like the great uncle. These are like, grandkids and, nieces and nephews and all from different parts of the family, but the same family name. Crazy. But see, this is happening to lots of people and just nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
But that face, that print, and I have about 7 or 8 other photos that they sent me recently of not nearly as complete as that, nearly the same size. They're smaller, and I can't tell if they're like smaller juveniles or they're just partial prints, because it looks like there's 3 or 4 of them looking around, they're all pressed together on the film, trying to look out to see if there's humans coming. But it was a classic, and we'll get back into the burial thing. When I was there, I've been to this property also, and when I was there, they have a cat that died, and she had just given birth to a bunch of kittens, and she died the day I was going to leave, and so they buried her. I said, well, don't mark the grave, don't put any flowers or mark it, because I told them about the story I told you guys about my lady and her dog. And so they did a pile of rocks, and let's see here. Yep. Okay, I got it.
There we go. Okay.
Now, if you look real close, you probably can't see it because it's not a clear photo. It's a good photo, but it's just the way I'm holding it up.
Yeah.
The Sasquatch, they still go in there and raid the food. They just gave up. They said, okay, you take some, you don't take all. I told them, just tell them.
Yeah.
You're stealing from me. This is how we make our living. So take some food, but not all. Take a few things. And it's settled down. But they took mustard green and turnip green tops. They pulled them up and they laid them across the grave. If you had the photo, you could see they marked the grave. They showed respect for the kitten by putting on the grave to show compassion, to show that they understand our involvement with death after the fact. I mean, that's just crazy. I told him that story. And so, he called me back a couple of weeks after I told him the story. He said, they put some turnip greens and mustard greens across the top of the grave.
That's wild.
And they're still stealing strawberries and the tops of radishes. Now their favorite fruit is eggplant.
Eggplant.
They love human food. But so that comes full circle. I've got examples, at least 2 examples of almost everything that I've got in the books, and all the the burial and cloaking and disappearing and all of that. I've got missing time. I got 6 hours of missing time with one guy up in the United States. 6 hours of missing time with a Sasquatch event.
In a way, it's kind of like we're learning from them, or they're helping us learn. So they're teaching us, and we're helping them learn and teaching them. And it's just kind of a back and forth, like you said, a full circle. Like we're learning from each other. Possibly at some point it'll come to where we're back living in the woods again, and we need that ideology
we destroy the planet, which is we're headed that way. Whoever survives will definitely be living in burned out rubble or in the woods, because that's, if we don't change things. And this is a message that a lot of people get. They get them from the aliens, abductions, and they get them from, Sasquatch communications, And so my sighting, where the rocks were left for me, and the clan and the orb with my wife, since then, we have had so many bizarre things happening in our house. They know where I live. I was watching TV about 6-8 months ago with my wife on the sofa. Something tapped me on the head 3 times. I looked over at her and said, "Was that you?" Well, no, she's got her face buried in her phone and her fire, and she's watching the TV. So she's like, I'm not even here. We say 3 words because she's into the media. And so it wasn't her. The next night we're watching TV again, and our TV just goes off, and you hear it click, you hear it ding, you hear the TV make the same sound when it goes off. It goes just this kind of little ring thing. It's the LG TV. It's a sound that makes. On the coffee table, our remote does that, jiggles just a little bit. Somebody came in and pushed the button on the remote and turned the TV off because the remote jiggled on our coffee table. She's had her pillow pulled out from under her head while she's sleeping. I have 3 hands on each of my legs, picking me up and carrying me off to the edge of the bed. Voices, knocks, light flickers, a lamp goes flying off the shelf, disembodied voice, all kinds of stuff going on here at the house since 2019, October. It's bizarre. And I've got this list. It's about 3.5-page list now. It's a Word document called Strangeness in Our Home. Every time something happens, I'll go write it down.
There you go. And that's what we tell people to do that have never had paranormal activity like a haunting.
Yeah.
Write down all the occurrences, time, date, all that good stuff. See if there's any correlations.
I've got it all in there.
Yeah.
But voices and electronic things happening, it's just, I get visions once a month, sometimes a little more often, sometimes less, of the Sasquatch showing me where they live. We meditate before we go to bed at night because we're both type A's. We don't sleep real well. So we listen to meditation tapes to get to the alpha state so we can just kind of fall asleep without our head just still wired from the day's activities. And as I'm getting into that slumber state, I will suddenly see this ravine, and I'm going down this ravine, and it matches 2 areas. The area I took those people down in 2019 also matches my research area here in Missouri, in Ellington, Missouri. And so, but I'm going down this ravine, and I'm going kind of slow, but everything going by me really, really fast. It's going by much faster than I'm actually moving, but I can feel myself going down. And they're showing me a day in the life. They're showing me where they live. They're showing me the kids walking around eating bugs, trying to catch bugs. They're just playing with sticks, digging in the ground. It shows some of the, the Sasquatch adults just kind of leaning against a tree, sitting down, sleeping. I mean, I'm shown this vision, and I've had this happen probably 8 to 10 times. And sometimes there's 4 or 5 Sasquatch, all like they're trying to crowd into the camera and look into the camera like it's a camera there or something. And other times there's just one, and I'm shown all kinds of, rocks coming down from the sky and kind of coming down like they're being, lifted into place, or they're
Right.
coming down into place to form a structure or a building of some type. It's just, I'm shown these things and it's like, no, people, I'm not tripping. This is really happening to me, but this is kind of stuff that people just can't wrap their heads around.
That's true too.
They're communicating with me. They're telling, they're showing me things, and it's just, I'm very, very blessed with it. It's very cool that it's happening. Most people are going, oh, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. I'd rather look at that picture of the gorilla hand there that is not really a gorilla hand than listen to that.
Right.
Crap,
Well, see, even the haunting and the ghost hunting community, like you can investigate a location long enough to actually start building a rapport or connection with said entity.
Yeah.
Happened to me with Garnett, the Garnett house in Kansas. And there's no reason why that couldn't happen with somebody in an alien abduction or with Bigfoot or, leprechauns, what have you.
Yeah.
If you're having direct contact for an extended period of time, there's a relationship being built.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody buys it,
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, I am hearing from people now that are telling me about these very things we're talking about. The disappearing into a tree and not coming out the other side. Voices. See, and I don't consider them having a language as anything paranormal at all. Birds chirp, dogs bark. Sasquatch has a language. We have a language. All living things, even bugs, have a language they communicate with, their fellow bugs.
But unfortunately, Sasquatch's language is bad Japanese films.
Yeah, the samurai chatter. But I just got another family that is hearing conversations on their property.
I woke up while we were filming this. I think it was first night. I woke up to that chatter, to them like going back and forth, and then it turned into hand claps.
Yeah,
and I think they were aware I woke up.
Yeah, see, but no one can conceptualize that because number one, we've been told that can't happen, and how the heck can a gorilla, this ugly-looking gorilla creature, be smarter than us and talk? I mean, come on, I ain't buying that. Well, that's okay. You don't have to buy it, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So, and I'm talking to people, everyday people like us, politicians, cops, soldiers, very well-off people that like to go camping. They're having these experiences, and they won't say anything to anybody because they're embarrassed. They don't want to be ridiculed. It used to be if you were an airline pilot and saw a UFO, you said one word, you're grounded. You'll never fly again.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore. But so it's just getting people to, you don't have to believe it, but if you just have an open mind and consider the possibility, I mean, if you believe in ghosts, then you believe that these other things have to be. You can't exclude one thing because, that doesn't fit my paradigm. I believe in ghosts because, everybody has probably seen a ghost. But Sasquatch talking, they don't exist. If they existed, science and the government would have told us. Or I've been in these woods for 30 years. I've been hunting all my life in these woods. If a creature like that existed, I would have seen it. I've never seen it, so it doesn't exist. But until I get that phone call from the same guy going, hey, can we talk? Because he suddenly had a sighting that he can't discount anymore and make fun of and poo-poo.
Right.
I get those calls too, but it's just, it's the mindset that we have, and we've got so much data inundating us, with the false garbage that the government puts out, and there's no such thing as UFOs. There's no such thing as Dogman or Sasquatch or, Bigfoot or, Slender Man or any of those other things. They just don't exist. They can't. Oh, well, except for UFOs. We lied about that, but we'll get back with you. So, knowledge is power and power corrupts. So these things are happening. People are having these experiences. That's all my second, but my fourth book is going to be no photos, no nothing. It's just stories about people that are having day-to-day week to week, month to month relationships with these people living on their properties for generations, 3, 4, 5 generations of the same family. That same house is passed down from family to family.
Nice.
So the family's all been baptized. They know, well, grandpa, great grandpa, great grandpa used to tell us about his Sasquatch stories, and I wasn't even born yet, so I've been hearing them since I was a kid. So they grew up with it. So they have the mentality that, well,
they're open
yeah,
to it.
This could possibly be.
Charles, do you have any questions?
I mean, you guys have been hitting it like right on all the show, and I've just been greatly enjoying the stories. So as far as questions go, okay, actually, yeah, I did have one. Why is it that when you start talking about how maybe Bigfoot or Sasquatches could be more of a paranormal thing, the traditional Sasquatch people are like, not so much. You know, their minds aren't open to it. They're more of a, well, it's an ape man, and that's got to be what it is. You know what I mean? So how come do you think they're just so closed off? And it's kind of like the similarity that we see with where certain scientists or archaeologists or what have you are uncovering things in history that are not the same that the mainstream people have been saying for years now. They always, try to discredit it. So do you think that there could be like something with that where they don't want to open their mind to it or think of different possibilities?
It's like I said, we're taught how to think for the first 18 years of your life. You got no choice. You're going to think what the teacher who taught the teacher who taught the teacher who taught the teacher who taught you, generation after generation, 25 years per generation. So we got 100 years, 125, 150 years of disinformation because the books you're handed, the teachers, they don't have any say so in the criteria. Here's a book. I'm going to teach from this book. Here's biology, here's science, here's American history. We had a couple of wars. Here's prehistory. Here's you've got all this stuff, and this is the world you are told exists. This is your world. This is how it is. So when you see something that you're told doesn't exist, and you have no experience otherwise, either open-minded family members or you saw something you just can't get out of your head, you're just going to go, well, no, it's just a dumb ape. That's why.
It surprises me that people that believe in Sasquatch, like that's it's technically an out there thing to think, right? In normal bot world, it's something that a lot of people wouldn't think about, I guess, necessarily. But it's just interesting to me that the people that do believe in Sasquatch are not more open to the fact that it could be paranormal. I don't know.
They're slowly getting baptized. I just did a show on a couple of weeks ago, a podcast, and they are ape only. Yeah. Although they are open, I believe in ghosts. I've seen a ghost. One of the guys said, I've seen a ghost. So if you're open to that.
Yeah.
But, and I explained, the things that have happened to me that I haven't even touched the surface really. And they'd find an explanation that made sense to them.
Yeah.
It was not what happened. It was explaining it away with physical flesh and blood only concepts. Which is fine. We don't have to be so hateful and nasty, in the Sasquatch world especially, but probably in the paranormal world in general.
Yeah.
There's two factions. There's this one and there's the other one. And everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody is so adamant that they are right. They have the answer.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen this or experienced it, or somebody I know and love personally has told me that I believe. That doesn't exist. And because your eyes and mind are closed to it for once, or even if you saw it or experienced it, you'd probably be going, probably had something to do with the bad taco I had for lunch or something. I mean, you're gonna blow it off some way to not have it come into your mind. I'm open-minded for a variety of reasons. It's just the world is considerably more complex than we're ever told. we'll ever know. I mean, if we finally know all the things they've been keeping from us, we'll all just be shocked, you know. But that I think that's, you know, Charles, I think that's the big reason that nobody, because if I've never seen it, it doesn't exist. You tell me you saw something, you like to smoke a little dope, or you like to, you know, drink a lot outside. I know how you are, Bob.
What were you on?
yeah. And so, you know, you'll try to, you know, gently, and maybe not so gently, and maybe not so politely, dissuade them from having that opinion. And so that's just the way it is. So I just ask, you know, and the reason I'm doing these books, I want more people that are experiencing the esoteric, paranormal, quantum type things that people are, you know, I want them to come and tell their story. They don't get any money. They don't want any fame or fortune. Their name's not out there, their location, nothing. They just tell their story, and they want to discuss it intelligently. Like, this is what I saw. What do you think? And so I'll go through the motions. You know, it's like, well, a guy in a ghillie suit, a bear, a deer, somebody pranking you. Let's go through all these scenarios. It's not this, that, and that. Okay, you got something. If you can't explain it away, then you're on to something. So I just don't let people tear you up. Don't let people make fun of you. Just don't tell the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know, tell your story, because I'm going to put you in a book, and someone's going to read your story and go,
yep,
that's what happened to Uncle Ted. And Uncle Ted used to tell that story. How come I never tell that story? Well, you know, Martha embarrassed him at a New Year's Eve party, and he never said a word again. You know, he went to his grave, never told a story again. And that happens. I mean, you shame people into silence. It's not fair.
It reminds me of the author Charles Fort, honestly. The way that you're taking people's stories and putting them out there for everybody to listen to hear is exactly what he did way back, you know, in the 1800s. Yeah. And so it's very interesting that you do that. I like that. It's really cool.
And it's important too, because like
historical record.
Just the conversation we're having tonight, a lot of the experiences you were talking about were experiences that I've had, and that helped not only validate my experiences, but it also gave me more of an insight into the possibilities of what transpired.
Yeah.
So you built upon my story by having a similar story.
Yeah. Well, here's something. You know, somebody you know right now has had an experience. They haven't said a word for fear of ridicule. Or somebody in your close circle of friends that maybe you're not directly involved with, but somebody like, you know, your wife or your girlfriend, her cousin had an experience he never talked about. You know, I mean, because it's that rampant. You know, it's that much. People have had experiences. You know, the lady I was telling you about with the gifting and the mirrors and everything, she has them coming to her bedroom doors at night. A mother holding a baby Sasquatch who was holding a plastic bag with 2 stuffed animals that they gifted and hung on the tree. And they're in an orb. They came in an orb form, and they showed themselves as the Sasquatch. So the mother was visible from the waist up. The baby was in her arm, and it was holding a bag with one hand, and with the other hand, it was poking her face with a fir tree, a branch from a fir tree. It was just messing with her.
Right.
So she's looking at this. It's like a very cute, you know, and she goes, that looks like the fir tree that's in our front yard.
Mm-hmm.
The branch could have come from the fir tree. She goes, I said, why don't you go look at that fir tree and see if a branch is missing about 8 to 10 feet up. Sure enough, a branch from a fir tree that this baby Sasquatch was tickling its mama with, there was a branch missing from this tree that is an area where they watch the house frequently from. How do you fake that stuff? And she's not, you know, she's scared of being labeled the crazy Bigfoot woman. Well, you know, no one knows who you are. I haven't identified, nor will I ever, where you live. So you're safe. Just tell your story with no encumbrances. And that's what these people are starting to do.
Yeah.
You know? And I get about one person a week now.
Be anonymous.
Calling. and saying, "Oh my God, you just talked about that flash of light when that Sasquatch disappeared. That happened to me. No one will talk to me. They think I'm nuts." We've been trying to talk for the last 2 weeks. She's had stuff. I was at a conference. She had stuff going on, but we're going to talk. But they're hearing stuff I'm talking about, and it rings a bell with them.
Yeah.
So, I know we're kind of running out of time, but, this is, we've been doing it, 2 hours we've been at this.
Yeah, just about.
Goes like that, don't it?
It does.
But it's a fascinating, this stuff is really happening, It's happening to people. I'm putting it in the books. I'm not going to, all 3 of these books are all full color. I don't put I put pictures in all these. The one I'm writing now is just going to be just the facts, ma'am. Jack Webb from Dragnet. Just the facts, ma'am. No photos, no nothing. Because some of these stories have been in one or more of these books that I've written already, but I've got some updates, like some updated habituation type interactions that I'm putting in there.
Now, where can people find your books at?
You can find them. I have a website, sqexplorer@gmail.com. Excuse me, that's my email, sqexplorer@gmail.com. That's also my website, www.sqexplorer. That's my website.
Is it .com?
Yeah, .com, yeah. And so that's my website. If you go to the website, you can order the books from there. If you want to buy all 3, send me a message and I'll give you a deal on all 3. But also, if you go to the media section, I have 50 or 60 of my old podcasts on there. You can take those, download them, and play them and listen to them and
nice.
Learn things you want to learn or learn things you don't want to know. If you don't believe my stuff, but I go into structures. The Sasquatch, they can count. They have a language, and none of that is paranormal. That's what's so weird. That's just what drives a wedge between because they talk. You've heard it.
Yeah.
Dave, you've heard it.
Oh, yeah.
I heard it. I just mimicked it for you when we started the show. It's a real thing. That's not even paranormal. Every being on the planet has a language. They communicate with their fellow creatures. So that's not paranormal or anything. I think they can count.
I think the word paranormal anymore is starting to get a little too overused because even with the ghost hunting, a lot of people are opening up their minds and exploring the scientific aspect of quantum physics and its correlation and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you start diving into that, you start taking away the abnormal and it becomes a physical matter.
Yeah.
And, whether it's microscopic or what, like it's a physical matter at some point.
Yeah.
So then it becomes a normal, natural occurrence.
Mm-hmm. And so, with the Sasquatches too, I'm wondering that maybe only certain age or certain clans, or you've achieved a certain mental state where you are allowed to use the ability to change your vibrational frequency or use telepathy or infrasound. It may not be that all of them have that gift. Maybe all of them could have the gift or they have it, but they have to have permission to use it.
I'll send you an article about a guy that we discussed last week. I read this article, a guy who was in communication with Sasquatch telepathically and was learning from them what he was told, like how they have the hierarchy, the alpha male is the one that tells all of them what to do, what they can't do, and all that. And it was interesting, to say the least. So I'll send you that article after the show.
I've seen them in physical form. At night, I have not had my daylight face-to-face sighting yet. I've had 3 sightings, all on thermal in the evening, which is about the only time I was really out when I was leading the expeditions and doing reports for BFRO. So, they may have what you would say a hierarchy. There may be, you cannot use these until you reach a totem level with the Native Americans, where you can, with the Himalayan monks who just spend hours and days and weeks and years of just meditating.
Level of attainment.
Levitate themselves and go to other places and other planets and other portals and dimensions.
Grow facial hair like Charles.
Yeah, grow facial hair like Charles. I'm going to try that. Can you send me just a couple of roots of your hair?
Sure.
See
it's really curly. I just got to tell you.
And really red.
Mine was like long and beautiful. I used to have hair down to my butt, my rock and roll days.
I'm getting mine cut here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. Now I used to have hair went down to my waist. Now it just grows on my back.
Well,
so
wax it off and stick it on top.
Yeah, there you
go. So there's all kinds of potential possibilities. We just have to be open to it. And if it didn't, some of the theories I'm proposing, have to throw them out. Well, it'll be proven truthful or not, or correct or not. Or we almost had it. What we meant was, if we thought about it a little bit different, we'd have an answer. But that's okay. The theories, we're just trying to come to an answer. Who are they? What are they? And what are they doing here? That's all we want to know. Then we'll move on to something else.
And I think the most important thing from tonight, especially, is that we've opened up some minds. New ways of thinking, new ways of just looking at the world that we live in, looking at the world of research. I hope anybody that listens to the podcast, even after months, days, years after this, they catch this. I hope this discussion opens up people's mind about everything.
We probably got to a couple people. All you have to do is get a couple people.
Yep.
I told you, honey. See what he said? Yeah, that's a bunch of crap, honey. I ain't buying that. You go out there and feed them Sasquatch. You go out there and feed them some apples and carrots, and have a good time. And
1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Yeah. Well, you sleep on the couch while you're at it, honey.
Yeah.
Let me know when you've come to my way of thinking. You can come back to the boudoir.
Then the next morning, you were a wild man in bed. I wasn't in bed.
Hey, it was Brutus, the Sasquatch.
Hey.
He's 9 foot tall. He's 800 pounds, and boy, this has been fun chat. And like I say, you just have to consider it. You don't have to believe any of it. Just consider it, because like I say, it's all theory. Guys are building buildings. Well, that didn't work. We got to try something. Maybe we ought to use steel instead of, you know what I mean? Everything is theory until you put it into practice. Then you improve upon it, or you disprove it and move on to something else.
Exactly. You're either going to prove it or you're not.
Yeah.
And then you just start off with another theory.
But my books are all for sale. They're all, I sell them out of my house. I'm self-published. They're all color on glossy paper. I autograph them all. I'll personalize them if you're giving them for gifts or whatever. Or if you want to maintain their value, I won't sign them. It's up to you.
That's a good way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't signed that. I could get my money back at the bookstore. He screwed it up.
Right.
He signed it too.
Give me half of it back.
Yeah.
All right, Carter. Well, we won't take up too much of your time. We appreciate you jumping on here. It was a great follow-up for our last episode, and like I said, I hope we opened up some minds. So, got some people thinking a certain way, and we'll see what comes of it. Maybe hey, if we end up raising the money for Into the Light 3, you come down with us on our Squatching adventure.
That sounds good to me. Send me the link. I'll put this on my Facebook as soon as it's all ready to go and everything. Anybody wants to contact me if you got any questions, you've got a story to share, call me, email me, whatever. Because I'm very open and very easy, accessible. It might take me a day or two to get back to you, but I'm pretty quick about that stuff because I'm just trying to spread the word and get these stories out that nobody wants to talk about.
Oh yeah.
For decades,
Indeed. So, all right, Carter, we'll let you go, brother.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Thank
you for coming on.
Good talk to you.
Do it again. See ya.
All right,
man. What a great show, man. It's good to have him on.
Well, having him there at that conference in Joplin, we talked a little bit there, but Like just hearing some of the stuff that he would speak about, and then watching some of the other podcasts he was on. Like this guy was interesting from the get go.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
I knew we had to have him on here.
Yeah,
there's no question. Guys, that's gonna do it for our show tonight. We actually hit the 2-hour mark. Which is awesome. Next week, it's episode 99 next week.
Isn't that game night? Isn't it game night next week?
That's right. It's going to be a paranormal game night. So get your thinking caps on, get your drinks ready, your jock straps on.
Oh,
this is going to be a fun one. We'll see you guys here, same time, same place.
Bye, everybody.
Be good.